All right, here we go. So I'm really just testing out a setup that unfortunately will be pretty brief at any rate, because even as we speak, leaves are falling. I won't be able to film outside very much anymore, but I know after the fever dream came that I said that was it for decks for a little while. And when I said that, I really did mean it, but then a couple of things happened. Perhaps while I talk, I will start manipulating the cards. So, but okay, just before I do that, so lots of you will recognize these cards are Deviant Moon. And I have a very special relationship with Deviant Moon. It was, well, more about that another time. I have a lot of oracles that work okay with Deviant Moon, but I didn't have any that were absolutely perfect. So then I saw the Jungian Archetype Oracle. Usually I wouldn't have been interested in this oracle because it only has 32 cards, which isn't enough in my opinion. However, I really, really loved the artwork. I really, really love the writings of Jung. And I really, really thought, well, this is it. This is the oracle. Let's see what the next cards go better with this purple fellow. This is the oracle that I think will suit the Deviant Moon better than any of the others that I have had or seen. Oh, and I just absolutely love it. The one unfortunate thing, I will put these back up for a second, is that I don't know how important it is, but I like it when the backs also look wonderful together. And I don't have any problem with the back of the Jungian Archetype Oracle, but it doesn't actually look too bad this way, but yeah, maybe it'll grow on me. However, the main thing is the cards themselves, the archetypes themselves. Another interesting thing that I wasn't surprised about is that the Deviant Moon, I wouldn't call the Deviant Moon a shadow deck necessarily. I think any deck can be a shadow deck, and you get more like shadow readings than shadow decks. But it is a straight shooter, you know. It's going to tell you how it is, not how you wish it would be. And oh my goodness, this little oracle, this Jungian Archetype Oracle, is outright pessimistic. Perhaps I will read one of the meanings when we get towards the end of the deck, which I find so complimentary, so complimentary to the Deviant Moon, because it is quite pessimistic, but it's also quite wondrously poetic. And I don't really, this is one of the darkest ones, the Stranger here. So I don't know whether the poeticness of it is, I think it probably is entirely intentional. However, I think that the artist is Italian. The guidebook is not substantial. The guidebook is just not quite a little white book, a little more substantial than that, but it's a Los Scarabeo deck. And so, as you know, it's just, I don't know how far it goes. Oh, a little farther than to there. Yes, to there. So that's it. That's all we get. So there's only 32 cards, of course. So there is a fairly fulsome entry for each card, and a question, which is all, we'll get to that. It isn't fulsome, but it is impactful. Oh, I really love that. The star, the shadow, and strength. So I guess the only way to stop buying decks is to not watch so many deck reviews on TarotTube, and do a hashtag or two myself. I want to do the editor's pick because when I first discovered TarotTube, I watched the editor's pick and found it wonderfully illuminating all the things people were doing with tarot cards. Oh, I had no idea. And so I was, oh my goodness, yes, just perfect. I think this is absolutely the perfect oracle for my good friend Deviant Moon. So perhaps I will just be quiet and flip through, and then at the end I will read you one of the cards. So I hope this works out. I'm largely doing this not only because I want to document this wonderful pairing, but because I want to see if the placement works. I'm finding an overhead placement a little hard to negotiate, so. And I like this. This worked before with the Tarot Obscuro, so I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to film outside for much longer. These last golden days before it gets really cold, I just treasure them. So I'll skip ahead a little bit and leave the oracle, because we run out of oracle cards. I should take my sunglasses off. Much better. Oh, it's clouding over a little. This is it, as the weather will become more and more uncertain, so. But it is a beautiful day. Well, I couldn't be more pleased. I couldn't be more pleased. So I do have another deck coming right now in this place where I live. This forest, sacred to my childhood, every year around this time is besieged by fishermen when the salmon are running, and they trespass, and actually they may actually be allowed to do so. And there's all kinds of technicalities about navigable water and crown. Does the crown own the riverbed? Do I own the river? Anyhow, I'm a little bit afraid of the young men, because if they'll hurt animals, then they might hurt an old lady. That's probably unfair, but anyway, I'm not really all that rational about it, because I guess all kinds of childhood things get triggered by hunters and, men who hurt things. Anyway, I just love this. This is perfect. Oh, so the being besieged by fisher people made me feel very powerfully that I really, really needed a fairy ally deck. So I have wanted the Hush Tarot and thought that, well, it doesn't look like it's going to be disappearing or anything, so I was going to wait until October or November or at some point in the future. And but I was so distressed by a confrontation with a fisherman yesterday that I decided that I needed a fairy ally in the form of a tarot deck. And that should come sometime today. Perhaps it's a reason, perhaps it's a rationalization for the other fairy deck, is that I do have, so mostly I pair oracle decks to tarot decks. The tarot deck seeming to be the more heavyweight, in my opinion, most of the time. However, I have one oracle deck which I really want, and I have a few tarot decks now that are worthy companions for this exceptional oracle deck. And that oracle deck is, well, perhaps I won't say, perhaps I'll wait until I do that. Anyway, a very special oracle deck like this. I have other tarot decks that work very well with this particular oracle, but none of them are just perfect. So I'm hoping that the Hush Tarot will be just perfect. The perfect tarot for a very special oracle. Oh, I am just loving this oracle, the Jungian Archetype oracle with Deviant Moon. And Deviant Moon really deserves an oracle all its own. And that is what the Jungian archetypes I will not use with anything except the Deviant Moon, so that they are best friends from here on out. I don't think I have any other decks. Well, you know what? The Fever Dream. Maybe the Fever Dream too. The Fever Dream works quite well with Deviant Moon, surprisingly. And I do like to do that too, rather than use an oracle and a tarot, which is what I like to do mostly. But combining tarot decks is kind of fun too. I haven't tried combining oracles, so I don't know. All this combining cards for readings is a little new to me, and I'm having a great deal of fun experimenting with combining different things. The Divine Child, that's the last. Is that the last card? I think, oh, well, it's not the last card that we're looking at, though. Of course, classically, there's only 12 Jungian archetypes. And what is that personality, that Briggs-Myers personality? I think there's 16. I think those have already been paired with the court cards in tarot, which I think is brilliant. I don't know a whole ton about those, but I'll get around to that one of these days. I actually probably understand the Myers-Briggs more from understanding the court cards than the other way, than the Myers-Briggs informing my understanding of the tarot. The tarot will be informing my understanding of the Myers-Briggs if I ever get around to understanding it. I've only had a very superficial exposure to it. My daughter is a counselor. Maybe I should turn that down just a wee bit. So she keeps me abreast of pretty contemporary developments in psychiatry and things like that, which are of interest to me. But, my days of hardcore study are, well, they're not over. Study is a form of recreation for me, but it's pretty eclectic these days. I really like that one, The Spirit of the Depths. That's a purple-eyed Medusa. Let's see what these next... we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. There we go. Let's read The Spirit of the Depths. The hero-heroine. Oh, there we go. The archetype of archetypes. And are we down to our... That's the last one there, so we'll take that one. We'll take that one. And I think there are two here. Oh, well, there's an interesting little spread right there. The Empress, Spirit of the Depths, and the Ten of Cups, the Happy Home card. I'm always happy to get the Empress and the Ten of Cups in a reading, that's for sure. So let's see what Spirit of the Depths is. I already did my morning reading, but perhaps this will address the same question I had for my morning cards was, how can I ameliorate or soften the incendiary hatred I feel towards the fishermen? Because it is insane. It's just that they trigger all kinds of childhood things. And I realize that, but they do trespass, and they are argumentative. Anyhow, I'm fully aware that hating them the one last night actually elevated my heart rate. My heart was pounding. I was so angry and a little afraid. So anyway, I don't want that to go on. Oh, shucks. Well, maybe I won't be able to read this because I don't have my glasses here, but let's try. The spirit of the depths. The sage who studies and knows from experience the things of the world tells us that, alongside the spirit of the times, who blows life ceaselessly into the gears of history, lives the spirit of the depths, a proud brother by nature, indocile and resistant to becoming. It detests the useful and reason. Thus, the rational ideals of the ages of the earth, it speaks of the unjustified and accompanies the listening soul into the meaningless worlds, into the nebulous and formless abyss. Compasses and sextants are worthless in the black and starless sky, an ever new and lonely course on small boats, where space is little and weight is always too much. When the spirit takes away everything, law, rule, and convention, and all that remains of a ship is a timber balanced on the abyss, the mortal who listens is left with nothing but the soul, the essence that both saves and sinks, that keeps afloat and opens the vertical path that joins the sky to the depths of the sea, the ego that brings light to the starless unconscious. And then there's a one-sentence keyword type thing, which is, the abyss is the path of those who seek the light. Very enigmatic, very poetic. I absolutely love it. So, a small relapse from not buying any more decks for a while, but a necessary one, I think. Goodbye for now.